Good morning, everybody. This is me speaking to you from, Urmston Towers here in Manchester. It's no expenses spared. You can see it's a palatial recording facility I've got here, and it is the day after Question Time Nottingham. Question Time Nottingham. The 13th of March was yesterday, 2014, and you had Baroness Kramer, the Liberal Democrat peer. You had Nadim Zahawi, Tory, sort of leading Tory, and you had Douglas Alexander, Labour, and you had Elizabeth Oakeshott, a Times writer and commentator on there, presented by David Dimbleby, obviously. There were various big stories this week that have hit, and one of the main ones was effectively a cut for nurses and their pay. They were promised a 1% pay rise last year in the budget by George Osborne, but that's now being withdrawn. So a large number of people, nurses in the NHS, will not be getting the pay rise the 1% pay rise that they were promised last year. And Douglas Alexander, in fairness to him, spoke out against that. These days you can never be sure with the Labour Party, because they're so afraid of speaking out on supporting trade unions and workers, etc., that it's not always a guaranteed thing. And Nadim Zahawi obviously spoke out in favour of this cut. Now, there's a couple of really important points that you should know about this cut for NHS nurses. So basically, one thing is that this year 70% of nurses will be getting zero pay rise, nothing this year. 70% of nurses will be getting nothing this year, and that wasn't mentioned on the show. The other thing is that in the past 4 years of this right-wing coalition, this austerity-based right-wing coalition, that keeps telling us how amazing it is, pay has gone down in real terms for nurses by 10%, which is quite a lot. 10%. You think about how much fuel's gone up, gas, electric, that's gone up like 27-30%. Food, it's gone up like 27-30% in the past 4 years, whilst their pay's gone down by 10%. So you think about how that affects a household, how it affects a family. Obviously the Nadim Zahawi doesn't care about those people at all. I mean, that's obvious, but he has to go in there and tell his stuff, and so he does that. And so there's always really tough decisions. It's really hard. Oh yeah, it's really hard. I don't want to have to. I'll have an 11% pay rise. So that's what they do. The pay commission for MPs has recommended an 11% pay rise for MPs, and they thought really long and hard about that, and had a real crisis of conscience, and in the end they said, "Oh, I'll take the 11%." And as soon as the pay commission for nurses and doctors turns up and says, "Well, give them 1%," they're like, "No!" So there you have consistency, moral consistency from the Tory party. The other fascinating thing, which I looked up and I didn't, so there was kind of a slight bit of conflict in the middle of this, where Douglas Alexander kind of spilt the beans, and he did something that not everyone has the courage to do. He mentioned that the Tory party has financial links to private healthcare. Like, I don't know, about a third of them or half of them have financial links to private healthcare. Anyway, ironically, Nadim Zahawi is one of them. Now that's fascinating, isn't it? The guy who's there saying, "Oh yeah, we're here to stick up for you, hard-working people, your hard-working money, blah blah blah," he's actually taking your money and putting it in his pocket. That's how wonderful this man is. That's how golden he is. You think about that. Basically, he gets paid £3 a month for 7 hours work. Just digest that. £3 grand a month for 7 hours work, for a recruitment company that provides, high-end workers for these newly formed CQCs. They got rid of the old, whatever it was. Basically, they brought these things called CQCs care quality commissions, which they just started these things overnight with this new law that the Tories created, the Health and Social Care Act, so they created these new bodies, and they're having problems staffing them. So lo and behold, they turn to their old friends in the private sector. They just happen to know, and so they pay them 300, 400, 500, 600 quid a day to have these staff in, and obviously half of that goes to Nadim Zahawi's company. So that's nice, isn't it? It's nice and cosy. So that was part of what made me so angry about this whole debate about reforms, which is a complete lie. It's not a reform when you basically privatise billions upon billions upon billions of pounds of people's hard-working money, and you take that and you put it in your pocket. That's what the Tory party has done, because it basically got very strong links with private healthcare, and so they take the public money comes in, it goes into government, it goes out into private healthcare, and it goes into yachts and cocaine and hookers and Ferraris for posh people who are either in the Tory party or friends with the Tory party. Marvellous. Yeah, okay, I'm being a bit sarcastic there, but you get the idea. It's the whole of this NHS privatisation. It's not a reform. It's a scam. It's a scam for making money, and it's any sort of obvious, any person with half a brain, they could see that. But unfortunately, the public aren't told that. It's kept out of the public domain, and every time it's mentioned, it's covered up or brushed aside. Now, in fairness to the Daily Mirror, it's one of the few newspapers that's actually consistently reported this, and I might post a few links with this story today, but by and large, even the Guardian hasn't touched it. The Independent has, but obviously the BBC haven't. Now, obviously the fascinating thing about the BBC is that it's run by Chris Patton, who's the Director General of the BBC. He's a Tory lord. Okay, so Tory lord with financial interests in private healthcare. You guessed it. So when you turn on the TV on a 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, to see the news, there's no mention of these links between private healthcare and the Tory party, which is embodied in Nadim Zahawi, who was there last night on Question Time. So that's part of why I was furious with him and with the whole debate. One other thing I want to mention is that he repeated the lies and misdirection that they're paid to do. That this is what they're paid for. They're paid to lie, and he told a categorical 100% lie last night on that programme, and it's a lie that many Tory MPs repeat, and they repeat and they repeat, and that is one of the kind of axiomatic cornerstones, groundwork of propaganda, as it's been sort of taught. Propaganda was something that was created about 100 years ago by a guy who ended up working in Madison Avenue in American advertising. So it's a set of ideas, and someone in central office they know this stuff, and they prep of the MPs just repeat the lie, repeat the lie, repeat the lie, repeat the lie, and it never gets questioned by broadcast journalists. But anyway, so there he is. And he said repeats the lie, which is what you do. You repeat the lie so the public believe you, right? And the lie there was 12.7 in extra funding for the NHS. That was his response, his rebuttal to these cuts for the nurses. They're not getting the extra 1%. So that's fascinating. So he's saying, oh, we can't afford this because we had to put more money into the NHS. Oh, bullshit. He also said that they've got 1.2 million more staff, more people going through A&E wards every year. Again, there are reasons for that directly relate to their own bullshit. But anyway, the 12.7 billion extra figure has been rebutted by the UK Statistics Authority, right? So that's a government-run agency telling the government that what it's saying is bullshit, right? And what do they do when they're told, when David Cameron and Jeremy Hunt are told that this is bullshit, that that's not happening, that there's no funding for the NHS has been cut in real terms under the coalition, they'll just repeat the lie. And that's what he did last night. And so obviously I was angry about that, I was disappointed about that. It went unchallenged at the end of it. I mean, Douglas Alexander was the only person there really speaking on behalf of that perspective. Nick Hewer to some extent, but he was really just there to be add a bit of personality, not hard facts and questioning details. Yeah, it's always the Tories always outnumber the lefties on these shows. It's just the nature of how it works. But so there was that, which infuriated me. Going back to the 1.2 million more people going through A&E doors every year. This year is partly because the Tory party have massively cut the number of walk-in centres in this country, so people can't go into a walk-in centre, so they go to an A&E ward. They've also privatised NHS Direct and placed it with this failed 111 service, which is privatised, lo and behold. So again, it's about, they have friends in these outsourcing companies who bid for the contracts to answer the telephone calls, and the quality of the service dropped massively. So you'd previously get a nurse pretty quickly, like a large ratio of people were nurses who answer the phone, we could get one straight away. Now you'll get a £7 an hour kid in a call centre who's reading a script, and the money that's saved will go to someone's Ferrari who's friends with the Tory party. Marvellous, isn't it? That's what's happened. So it's where the Tory party see billions upon billions of pounds of government money coming in, their eyes just go, money, 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 my money, your money, our money. And that's what they've done. And that's why I'm so angry at them, is they're thieving from the public, and the public do not know. Anyway, moving on, I guess that's the whole of the NHS question. I mean, there's a final sort of corollary to that, like Baroness Kramer sort of chipped in and said that these were reforms and they were necessary reforms. I've made some various notes here, just page upon page of notes, and I just wanted to slap her. I mean, then this word reform, I remember at some point in the 90s it started being used, this word reform. You reform, so you recreate something, you fix it. And what's happening now is not a reform. The Health and Social Care Act was a hidden law. It was hidden from the public. It was written by the Tory party with a privatising like a consultancy firm from America. They never mentioned it at all in 2010 when they ran. They didn't mention it at all. And so they ran and said, oh, you can trust us with the NHS. Didn't mention it, and then like 3 or 4 days after they came into power, they said, oh, well, there's a little law for you, and we're going to change something. The most important institution in the entire country, and in the history of Great Britain, biggest, most important institution, and they don't even mention it. So, I mean, the level of lie upon lie upon lie upon lie that's packaged up and fed to people, and Nadim Zahawi's job last night was to feed that lie, and it's like this kind of assistant to the bully, the school bully, Baroness Kramer. She's got to push the lie as well. They do it together. The liberals have been pathetic, but I mean, Baroness Kramer, it turns out, I just checked out her background, she's got links to Citigroup. Well, she worked for them previously, so she's just another Tory, basically. So vote yellow, get blue, or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So that's my response to the NHS question last night on Question Time. Was just Douglas Alexander did his bit and he did what he could, but really, what we got was government lies and propaganda from both Baroness Kramer and Nadim Zahawi, who should really be locked up. I mean, the fact that he's making money out of a company that provides workers to the NHS, and he's helped privatise it. I mean, that's just, it's hard to prove causality, but at the same time, he voted for a law that he's now making money out of. So I mean, it seems very sus to me. But that's my opinion, and I hope you tune in for more of these. I'm just doing these little videos. I'm dabbling with it. I'm obviously quite rough around the edges, but check these out and keep watching. Thank you.